chapter of Epsilon Sigma Phi. That's the Alpha Xi New Jersey chapter. So I'm just gonna, before we get started on today's topic, I wanted to just take a couple minutes and talk about ESP. For those of you who may not be members or may not be familiar with it, it's a great organization. So just to review what this is, the ESP mission is to foster standards of excellence in the extension system and to develop the extension profession and professional. This is the only extension association that is open to all departments, which I think is one of the great things about it. So I have attended the one of the national conferences in the past couple of years ago and got to present with people from agriculture and natural resources, 4-H, and also FCS, as we're known in other states, all together and these are people who are from Alabama, Utah, and Wisconsin. And so that was just a really cool thing to kind of, have like a multidisciplinary presentation and meet other people from other places and other departments. So that's a really unique thing about ESP, is that it's from all departments, including administrative professionals as well. So it's open to extension personnel and retirees who exhibit excellence in extension programming. And I always say, I argue that is all of us, because that's what we always strive for. Membership is established through state chapters that are chartered through the national organization. So again, we are the New Jersey chapter, also known as Alpha Xi. And with members from all aspects of the extension system, members have an opportunity to network with members from all of extension, regardless of area or position. And just some of the benefits of being an ESP member, not an exhaustive list, but just to list a few. So there are scholarships available for individual professional development opportunities. There's professional development grants for chapters. There are chapter and national recognition programs for member individuals and teams. There's opportunities to give peer-reviewed scholarly presentations at the national conferences, also at our state meeting as well, and also through their series of webinars on a national level through ESP. You can get involved in public issues and activities. There is the ESP Connection newsletter and other relevant communication to all its members. Chapter and national leadership opportunities. So this may be of especially important for pre-tenure faculty who are looking to put that service on their Form 1Cs. You have access to a network of extension professionals united across discipline and program areas. There are mentoring opportunities, both to serve as a mentor and to receive mentorship. And those who join ESP also are automatically join the Joint Council of Extension Professionals, excuse me, through NIFA. And these are the national conferences that are available. There's PILD, which is Public Issues Leadership Development Conference. That is, it's actually right outside Washington, D.C. and Virginia in April. And it includes a visit to the Hill on the very last day, which is a really unique opportunity to speak to our representatives. There's the Joint Council of Extension Professionals, that's JCEP, that's going to be in Tampa this month. And then, I have the ESP National Conference. That was actually the last year's conference. Sorry, I forgot to update this slide. So that's going to be in September this year. And off the top of my head, I forget the location, but I can get back to you with that. Okay. And this is just your local leadership. That's all of us here. I'm the current president. Sharon Kinsey is our current vice president. Steve Yurjo is our current treasurer and membership chair. And then Michelle Teitzma is our current secretary. She's also the acting awards chair, which actually I think is something I didn't mention in the benefits, but there's also many awards that are available. Also, that may be appealing to pre-tenure faculty. So if you are interested in joining, I encourage you to do so. There's a QR code to the membership application. That's also the link, which I can send you, or I can put it in the chat too, so you can just click on it. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me or anyone from the leadership team, and we'll be happy to answer questions and give you guidance, or just talk more about ESP and all of its benefits and all the great things that we have to offer. So So that's who we are and what we do. And so now that I've got that done, I am very excited to move on to our topic for today, which is Has My Cheese Moved? Dealing with the challenges of change. So this is something that I think can be challenging for everybody, regardless of what profession or what department you are in. And so we have our extension agent in 4-H, Michelle Teitzma, here today to talk about this. And Michelle, I'm going to hand it over to you and let you take it away. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Again, my name is Michelle Teitzma. I'm the Warren County 4-H Program Associate, and I've been a member of ESP since 2019 now. And I will be hopefully sharing my screen. Da-da-da. So that we can delve into the topic of overcoming the challenges of change. I picked this topic for a conference because change is something that is constant. I mean, there's that great phrase about, the only thing constant is change. How we look at and interpret change and how we deal with change makes a big difference on how easily or how not easily we overcome the changes that we're faced with throughout our life. Maybe if it will move the slide. There we go. There's that quote. It's often said that the only thing constant in this life is change. Change is going to happen. It's inevitable. It's necessary, for growth. Okay. However, it's definitely not easy. Any kind of change that we go through is not always easy. And here's our little grumpy cat friend there's only two things I don't like: change and the way things are. So there's kind of that juxtaposition there of, do I want things to change? Do I want, can I live with them the way they are? And everybody deals with change in a very different manner. These are just a few examples, and feel free to unmute and toss out more ideas or put it in the chat, whatever. There's a lot of people that hide from change, like our little dude hiding under the desk there. Avoid the change at all possible. Just don't want to acknowledge that the change is happening. Great, avoidance. And then there's the people that, hey, it changes that stress factor that just makes us want to eat all the things, whether it's cheeseburgers or chocolate or ice cream, doesn't matter. People tend to react to change by eating. And another thing, and this is, I think we all tend to, at least I do, I fall into kind of all three categories depending on what the change that's going on is. But I find myself dealing with the counting sheep. I lay awake at night stewing over everything. And we'll talk a little bit about that as to why that happens in a few slides from now. What I found was a few years ago, I came across this little book, Who Moved My Cheese? And, sounds like a ridiculous little title. What? A friend of mine was like, it's just got this great little message. So I read it. And it had a profound difference on the way that I approached change in my life, whether it was changes that I initiated or changes that I had no choice over, that was just like, here, this is happening. You need to figure out how to deal with it. And to give you guys a little book report, essentially, there's the main characters in this book are two mice and two little people, stick characters of some sort, if you will. The mice are Sniff and Scurry, and the people are named Hem and Haw, and they live in a maze. And obviously they're searching for cheese. Otherwise, it wouldn't be called Who Moved My Cheese? For the mice, they're searching for the physical cheese. Cheese is what makes them happy. For the little people, the cheese represents success. What makes everyone happy? Each character represents actually a completely different attitude towards change. Sniff is looking for opportunities. He kind of seeks out the change, notices when change is coming. Scurry just buzzes right into action. Okay, it moved. Where do I need to go now? Hem denies and resists the change. Can't be happening to me. I don't want this. And Haw eventually figures out how to adapt and learns how to change and learns how to adapt to the change. Again, book synopsis kind of in a nutshell. It starts off with all four characters. Every day they put on their running shoes, they leave their little imaginary houses that are in the maze, and they go and they look for their cheese. Sniff and Scurry use a very simple method of trial and error. Okay, this is a dead end. Nope, I got to go back down this path, try a different path to find the cheese. Wrong direction, change direction, go somewhere else. Hem and Haw have a more logical approach to finding their cheese. They rely on their ability to think, to learn from past experiences. However, they do tend to get bogged down by an emotional response sometimes, which Sniff and Scurry tend not to let interfere with their attempts to find their cheese. Cheese is found at what they call Cheese Station C. Woo, everybody's happy. They're all, woohoo, cheese found. Sniff and Scurry, however, don't change their routine. They wake up early, they take the same path through the maze, they keep their running shoes handy while they're enjoying their cheese. Hem and Haw get very comfortable and secure. The cheese is going to be there. Of course the cheese is going to be there. Why wouldn't it be there? So they started waking later. They got out of the shower slower. They took their time getting through the maze. They put away their running shoes. They put on slippers. They got comfortable. And hey, they were bragging. I know where my cheese is. My cheese, nothing's going to happen to my cheese. And then one day, wham, the cheese is gone. And this is like sends everybody into a tizzer because the cheese is gone. This is the change. Sniff and Scurry notice that the pile was in fact getting smaller. So they knew that change was coming. They knew what to do when the cheese was no longer there. They put on their running shoes and they took off down a different path to try and find new cheese. However, this change completely blindsided Hem and Haw. Unprepared, started yelling, "Where's my cheese? Why isn't it here? This isn't fair. Life isn't fair," kind of a thing. They didn't know what to do because they were frozen. And that's kind of one of the reactions that we'll be talking about and addressing. Hem and haw, and this is the very common, very practical, or not really practical, but it's the usual reaction. Okay, they keep checking to see if the cheese had come back. Maybe somebody put it back. They expected the cheese to be there. Why should they have to go look somewhere else for the cheese? The cheese is supposed to be there. They're entitled to the cheese at Cheese Station C. So their reaction, while it's not productive because that still doesn't make the cheese come back, it's understandable. It's knowing that, okay, this happened. I didn't want it to happen. And realizing that, okay, no matter what the change is, change can be very upsetting. It usually comes without warning, with no justification. Why did this happen to me? And we're sitting there thinking to ourselves, this is not the way that it's supposed to be. Haw, the difference between Hem and Haw, Haw began to realize the cheese wasn't coming back. He had to venture out of his comfort zone to go and search for that new supply of cheese. Hem just flat out refused. No way, no how, not going anywhere. He was definitely entitled to that cheese and he expected it to be brought to him. Haw, on the other hand, started to look at things a little bit differently and thought sometimes things change and they're never the same again. Said to him, this looks like one of those times. That's life. Life moves on, and so should we. Reluctantly, Haw set off to go in search of new cheese. He's following along behind Sniff and Scurry. He left messages for Hem along the way on the maze walls, hoping that Hem would eventually leave Cheese Station C and come and search for new cheese. Some of the messages that he left is that fear can prompt action. Adapt to change sooner. That way you're not blindsided when we're expecting change can happen at any moment. It's easier to be able to adapt to the change, to adapt our mindset specifically, and figure out a way to move forward. Change is challenging, but if we look at change as an adventure, and the image that pops to my mind about an adventure is a scene from The Hobbit from J.R.R. Tolkien. And it's Bilbo is happy in his little Hobbiton life. And he's got this great, he doesn't want to do anything. He doesn't want to go anywhere. He's certainly not going to go over the hill and follow some, crazy wizard off on an adventure. But when the wizard shows up and actually asks him to go on the adventure, he turns it down. No, that's not the life for me. But the more he thinks about, this could be a life-changing, life-altering opportunity for me. And he takes it and he runs out of his house and he's so excited. I'm going on an adventure. If we were looking at change, not so much as this massive mountain or obstacle that's in our way, but an adventure that is there to teach us and that we need to learn how to scale and climb. Think of all the opportunities to better ourselves during that journey. The other message that Hall left for him was pay attention to your surroundings. Going through life with blinders on, essentially. This is my bubble. This is where I am. Nothing can penetrate or bother me. And then something happens and the wind blows and sends a sharp-edged leaf and boop, your bubble pops. And oh my goodness. If you're in the mindset of, okay, it's a windy day, something might be able to pop my bubble here. Maybe I should do something to change my surroundings, to move my bubble into a more protected location. So when you're aware of your situations, where you are, what's going on around you, it's easier for you to adapt to change because you're prepared for it. Movement in a new direction, while it's scary, unnerving, that's, I'm on a new path. I don't know if this is exactly, where I need to be. One foot in front of the other. Movement in a new direction helps you find that new pile of cheese. Hall was scared to leave Hem in the maze. He didn't want to break out by himself and move on his own. Sniff and Scurry were long gone. But even though he was afraid, he kept moving forward. And the one time that he did go back for Hem still flat out refused to leave. Nope, still expected cheese to be delivered to him. He wasn't going to go out and look for his version of cheese. He expected happiness to come to him. He was not willing to go out and find new happiness. One of the quotes in the book is, when you move forward beyond your fear, you feel free. I mean, there's that great phrase of, the only fear we have to fear is fear itself. The fact that you keep moving forward is the bravest thing that you can do. Face the fear, move beyond it, one step at a time. The quicker you let go of the old cheese, the sooner you'll find new cheese. And this is instead of dwelling on what isn't there anymore, whatever changed. the sooner you let that go and say, okay, that didn't work the way that I expected it to. It didn't have the outcome that I thought it was going to have. I need to change my direction so that I can find something new, a new piece of happiness, a new success to strive for. And as I mentioned in the beginning, that imagination sometimes can be our own worst enemy. You imagine a situation is going to be way, way worse than it actually is. Your imagination can have you stewing and working up these scenarios in your mind. This is what keeps me awake at night. If this happened, if that happened, there's a whole lot of that if. And instead of focusing on the what if this happens, map out a plan. Change is natural, change is constant. If we're looking at, we know that change can happen on a dime. We know that, we've got an outdoor event and we don't have a rain date, and of course it's going to rain that day. So what's plan B or C or D? The alphabet's got a whole lot of letters in it. Have a contingency plan. Try and quiet those contingency plans, quiet the what if that goes on in our brain. What if this happens? What if that happens? Okay, we roll with it. Keeping an open mind, being flexible with the way that we think and we perceive situations and approaching change. Meaning, like, get rid of the old thinking, old worries, and old fears that aren't relevant to the current change that we're faced with. I tend to focus on the negative, what can go wrong, versus, okay, this is what's actually going right. Maybe having rain was a good thing because it opened up so many other doors, opportunities to network. Try and find the positive out of any situation. When you change what you believe, again, focusing more on that positive, you change how you react to it. You change what you do. Instead of stewing on what was or what isn't anymore, and looking at the change as a new opportunity, an adventure. How can this make me the best version of myself? What can I learn from this situation? Finding that new cheese and working towards it helps to embrace that trauma of change. If we're anticipating and expecting the change, we're already set up for a better outcome, because we're not going to sit and focus like hem and refuse to move forward. Some of the lessons that I think this Who Moved My Cheese emphasized was keeping life simple. Don't overanalyze or overcomplicate things. Again, there's that keeping the imagination at bay. Look at the facts that are in front of you. Analyze how they directly impact you. How can I handle this? How can I move past it? One of the big things is to laugh. If you can't laugh at the strange things that life throws at you, you need to be able to laugh. Laughter is some of the best medicine that's out there. In fact, my ESP colleague, Elaine Toretta, does a fabulous workshop just on laughter. And she puts up all these, Calvin and Hobbes and Far Side and things that tend to sort of make fun of life, because Murphy is alive and well. And we know that if it can go wrong, it will. And we need to be able to adapt to that and laugh at the situations and say, okay, I don't know why this is happening to me, but there's got to be a reason, and I can get through it. I'll be able to get through it. And there's, this great quote, "Let it go," made absolutely famous by, a Frozen Disney movie. Let it go and move on. And I know those words are way, way easier said than done. But when we think about the simplest approach to adapting to change, let it go is at the base of it. That's the foundation. Look beyond what you can't change, what you can't interact with. It wasn't your choice. I mean, you can't tell the red light in front of you, hey, I'm 5 minutes late to my meeting. You need to turn green now. There's things we can't control. That's the stuff that we need to learn how to have the mindset to look beyond. This is not in my control. What is in my control is how I react to it. Being flexible, sort of picture like Gumby, and that was a Stretch Armstrong that just kind of stretches in every possible direction all over the place. Elastigirl from the Incredibles movie. Being flexible doesn't necessarily mean doesn't have to mean fly by the seat of your pants, don't have a plan. But it certainly means that the plan can have multiple alternatives and multiple options. And it doesn't need to be set in stone. The plan doesn't need to be so rigid that we get stuck when that rock cracks and throws a monkey wrench into plan A. Be flexible. We have plan B, we have plan C, we have options to be able to fix things and adapt to things on the fly, basically. When we pay attention, and here's the term situational awareness, notice the things that are going on around you. Notice the dynamics and the moods of the people that are in your office, in your family, in your friend group. And that way you notice the little changes when something's not quite right. And you pay attention to that something's not quite right. It's like we all talk about, my gut feeling told me, "Mm, something wasn't right here." Or the phrase is, well, that sent up a red flag. Those are those little things to be aware of so that when the dynamics of a situation changes, you're not blindsided by it. I knew something was a little bit off here and I was ready for it. That gives us the flexibility to adapt quickly. Okay, life just threw, that erupting volcano at me. Instead of going hiking on the trail where the lava flow is now going, I'm going to get on this helicopter and go for an aerial view and look at the cool view that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Always remember that there's new cheese. You don't want to stay in a situation where, hey, the cheese is moldy or the cheese isn't there anymore. Moldy cheese, well, okay, I know there's blue cheese and some cheese is good when it's moldy. Most cheese is not good when it's moldy. So it's that cool awareness of what's out there for me. What's going to make me happy? What's that new cheese calling to me? Maybe I should try some of this. Maybe I should try some of that. That phrase of we grow old when we stop learning, or something close to that. Anyway, there's always new things that we can do, we can be a part of, new friends to make. There's always new cheese out there. And it's up to us to take the helm, really, and say, I'm going to go find that new cheese. I'm going to figure out how to scale this mountain that's been dumped right in front of me, whether I go around it, over it, under it, through it. The new cheese is on the other side, and I need to figure out how to get there. So, to kind of wrap things up before we go into questions and some discussion about this, change happens. We all know this. It happens every day changes every decision that we make. What am I going to have for lunch today? They keep moving the cheese. This cheese power will always keep moving the cheese. And we need to figure out how to find that new cheese, whether we're going to stay in one spot and expect the cheese to come to us, or how we go out and find the new cheese. the more that we anticipate the change is going to happen, whether we want it to or not, gives us the ability to be ready for the cheese to move. If we're paying attention to our situations, if we're paying attention to those red flags and the gut feelings, evaluate where you are. Evaluate the situation you're in often to find out whether the cheese is still good. Is the cheese not so good anymore? Maybe it's time to think about looking for new cheese. Know the state of the cheese. I think one of my favorite lines from the book, there's a whole page dedicated to it, says, "Move with the cheese." Okay. I think that kind of sums up a lot of what we've talked about, or what I've presented to you today, is having that mindset to look for the change, anticipate the change, and then be able to move forward when the change happens. Try and enjoy the change. Savor the adventure. You're out there, you're doing something new, you're learning something new. There's an opportunity for you to grow as a person, as a family, in relationships, everything. Embrace that opportunity to make yourself better. And even after we found the new pile of cheese, don't get comfortable there, because you know what's going to happen to this process. It's going to happen again. And then we're back at bullet point number 1. Change happens. The cheese has moved once again. The cheese is on roller skates and never stops moving. So you put on your rollerblades and you just keep following the cheese. Keep moving with the cheese. Be ready for change and enjoy it. So there's the final thought. I do not fear the winds of change. I'm going to move with the cheese. Are there any questions? We can have some discussion about change